Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, guys. And today we're going to have a brand new video. This one will be a new series, and this new series is actually about a new thematic called The Path to a Banknote. And in this videos, we will look into specific banknotes which have buildings or people that basically disappeared and have a story behind it. And that's the story that we're going to talk about through the banknote itself. Today, in the first episode, we're gonna start with the Angolan bridges over the Kwanza, and let's go right into it and explaining what the Kwanza is for those that don't know. Kwanza is actually the largest river in Angola, the largest river that doesn't cross into other countries. It Yeah, it comes into the Atlantic Ocean actually close to Luanda, a few kilometers down, or a few like 50 or 60 kilometers south of Luanda, and it's almost like a barrier. So only the last 200 kilometers are actually can you actually sail on them. So the river has around 725 kilometers, and you can actually only sail the last 200. So this was always kind of a natural barrier for the Portuguese that were there since the 15th century to explore a bit the country, because at the time, without cars and without railroad, it was either on foot or sometimes quicker was to go through rivers. That's why the river Zaire or River Congo is also so important. That said, you probably know this, but not just Portugal, but most of the colonizer in Africa only had real control about some coastal parts of the continent, and the interior until the 19th century was mostly left to local tribes, and that was not different in the Portuguese colonies like Angola. So actually, the country as we know today, Angola, the full control from Portugal came only in the late 19th century, late 19th century. Before that, it was just basically the coast. So that said, this was really an important river, and it was important for the development. So back already in 1926, the first bridge was built over the Cuanza River. This was at the time only a bridge for trains, but 3 years later came the first bridge for cars. So in 1929, it was actually the first bridge that connected the north to the south of the country. After that, and this is what we will talk about, a third bridge was built. This was started in 1952, and the bridge was called Bridge Salazar. We'll go back to it in a bit, but it appears in two different banknotes. The first one is this PIC 89, and you can see here the bridge with the name Salazar Bridge over the River Kwanza. And here it's this is the 1956 series, this is the 62 series. In the first series, we actually have Serpa Pinto here behind. He was an explorer, Portuguese explorer that was actually more in Mozambique than in Angola. And then in the other series we had, or the later series, we had Américo Tomás, which was the president of Portugal at that time. Both of them are not super rare. You can see here a bit the pricing, catalog prices, puts this banknote at $140 in uncirculated. According to my registers, you could get this in PMGs. This case it will be 65 because I put it in red, 65 or 66 or more for around $230. This one is around the same kind of um, rarity, I would say. Also uncirculated, it goes for around $295. They are quite easy to find, a bit more the Big 94 than the 89, but in a worse condition than uncirculated. There's quite a few ones. Uncirculated, they are not so easy, and they're not so much out there. But anyway, so this that we see here is this bridge Salazar. Salazar, as you would probably know, was the dictator of Portugal at the time, someone that stood in power for close to 50 years until 19, and actually from 1926 to 68 or 69, I don't remember. And he was one of the longest dictators in history, and a lot of things were given his name, and this was just another one of them. The bridge started the construction in 1952, but and you can see here as a complete bridge in both of the banknotes, but this was not actually the case. This was seen as a uh, one of the engineering uh, jewels of the crown in Portugal, or at least in Angola, and they wanted to show this to the world as development, etc. But in this case, the bridge was only finished in 1973, so 21 years after it started. The construction here, well, I don't know much, but the local said that it got a lot of trouble due to a mermaid that lived in this area of the Cuanza River. Take it as you are, but this was actually a very important, or for the development of Angola, this would have been actually a very important construction because it was putting together or joining two towns, Malange and Silverport, which at the time were important trade points from the interior of the country. Um, yeah, not a lot more to say about this, but this is a bit of an introduction on this bridge. This series, as you would probably know, not just these are the 100 Shuj, but the other ones all always had in these two series some kind of engineering achievement in the front or some kind of development in the front, and then in the back it has like fauna of the country. In this case, it has although I don't have it here, it has elephants. So what actually happened to this bridge? So in 1974, Portugal had a revolution, the Carnation Revolution that brought democracy to the country, and at the same time opened the colonization. So Africa was already, or Angola was already at war with Portugal for a long time in this colonization. But Portugal still had quite a good grip on the country. But after the revolution, one of the first things decided was to give the country's independence, which happened in 1976. Unfortunately, and for reasons that I'm not going to cover today, this also resulted in an armed conflict in Angola that lasted from basically since independence in 76 to the 90s, which ravaged the whole country. And in this case, the bridge, which was finished only in 73, also was one of the victims of this conflict. Um, Here you can see some of the photos of the bridge here with a tank, still with a Portuguese symbol here. And here you see a bit of how the bridge was after the war. Basically, 6 of the 15 pillars had either collapsed or were destroyed by bombs, by mines, by anything. And yeah, this was just here a poster of how the communists also looked into this. I'm not going to go a lot into the politics in Angola at the time. That may be another video afterwards, but this is how the bridge ended up. Of course, Angola is a country where everything goes a bit slow, and it was only then in 2008 that the regional government still or had some money to actually restart the building of this bridge, and it was rebuilt using a different technique, so it's not the same. It's similar, but not really the same as you have in the banknote. It took 2 years, but it finally opened in 2010. Here is a picture of the reconstruction. So it was a lengthy process from the start of the first announcement in 52 to being built in the 70s, or being totally built in 73 to being destroyed a few years after, and now to be reopened back in 2010. But the Kwanza still keeps its importance, and Kwanza, as we, as numismatic or banknote collectors will know, is not just the currency of the country since independence, although it had different names from New Kwanza to readjusted Kwanza to just basic Kwanza, but it's also, and you can see here on the picture, it gives a name to two provinces of Angola, North Kwanza and South Kwanza. Yeah, and I think that was it for history. So the bridge itself, as it was recorded on the banknote, never really existed, and this is just some interesting history that I think it's worth telling. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.